Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the vAuto podcast. I'm Lance Helgeson with vAuto. I'm delighted to have two guests for this episode. Dale Pollak, Executive Vice President for Cox Automotive and vAuto founder. Dale, good morning.
Good morning, Lance. Great to be with you.
Indeed. And my second guest is Randy Kobat, Vice President of Operations for Cox Automotive's Inventory Management Solutions in vAuto. Randy, good morning to you.
Morning, Lance. How are you today?
I am well, thank you. I appreciate both of you joining today's episode. The purpose for this episode is to give you all a sneak preview of the upcoming Cox Automotive Fall Expo, which runs from September 20th to the 30th, 2021. The Fall Expo includes 3 days of what we're calling a user summit, and our conversation today will focus on the user summit sessions the Cox Automotive Inventory Management Solutions Group will bring to the table. I should note that the user summit will start on September 20th and kick off the Fall Expo. Now, Randy, perhaps as a place to begin the conversation today, could you give us a quick overview of what the IMS User Summit sessions will cover?
Sure, absolutely, Lance. We're focused mostly on ways that we can help our clients with new ideas or new ways that they can source vehicles more effectively and manage their inventory in a more effective way as well. We're going to be sharing some interesting insights that we've gained over the last year, specific around acquisition strategy and how directly acquiring cars from consumers has turned into a really effective way to find good quality used cars and is something that's going to stay with us over the long haul. We're also really focused on helping share some things that we've learned about how there are still really good opportunities within the existing wholesale auction markets to buy good quality used cars.
Yep.
Another area that we're going to be focusing on is reconditioning. It's one of the last areas in many ways inside dealerships that's very manual from a management perspective.
Yes.
And focusing in on ways that we can help our clients make that reconditioning process more effective and efficient. And then lastly, around merchandising and, with more and more transactions, not only just starting online now, but effectively finishing online or getting as close to being finished as possible before the consumer comes to the dealership. Just having photos online is no longer good enough. And we're sharing some of our newest innovations around helping our dealers get consumers interacting with the inventory more effectively online.
That's interesting if I was to think of all of those together, Randy, it almost seems like what are the key sort of ground changing lessons learned that dealers took away from the pandemic months. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think the pandemic time really, as we've seen, throughout the history of the automotive industry, our industry is resilient. Dealers can really find ways to make it work regardless of the environment in which they're operating. And yeah, there was a lot of really interesting lessons learned, and the business really moved forward in a digital fashion. And there's a lot of ways that business transacted over the last year and a half that are going to stay with us over the long haul.
Cool. Now, Dale, you are part of the inventory management piece of the IMS section of the Fall Expo. And I understand that you'll be speaking about managing inventory as investments. Could you give us all a sense of the high points that you'll be sharing for your session at the User Summit?
Sure. I'd like to just take a moment, however, and acknowledge the great work that Randy has done to expand the scope of the vAuto solution. As you've noted, I am pretty singularly focused on pricing and appraising vehicles, but as everyone knows, in order to be a full service operation software tool for dealers, there's much more to it than just pricing and appraising. There's merchandising and reconditioning and a whole plethora of other areas of opportunity. And much thanks to Randy for his vision and his persistence in helping us build out some of those other areas. Mm-hmm. So with respect to my portion, I am going to be focusing on the benefits that dealers can derive from using an investment value methodology for used vehicles. Now, I think it's really important to understand that we built vAuto. That's pretzel, folks.
Pretzel.
I think it's really important for people. He got all excited with what I'm about to say. I think it's really important that we understand that we built vAuto basically on a particular philosophy, and that was velocity method of management. And our software was purpose-built to encourage dealers to think and behave consistent with that velocity method of management. The environment over the last 15 years has changed substantially. The world has changed, as everyone knows. The market has changed. And what vAuto has instituted over the course of the last couple of years is a new way forward, a better path forward for dealers to manage used vehicles for better net profit outcomes. And that's our profit time system. So I'm going to be explaining how the profit time system came about, the logic behind it, talk about some of the data science that supports it, and highlight some of the benefits that dealers can expect when they use the investment value method that profit time offers.
Very good, Dale. I'm curious, and I don't want to, pull the veil back too early on your session, but if you just mentioned the benefits that profit time and the investment value-based method offers, what kinds of benefits did we see for those dealers, in the last 18 months when it was almost at a point where you couldn't do any wrong in used cars?
Correct. As you've noted, it's fair to say that virtually every dealer has achieved record or near record used vehicle departmental outcomes over the past year and a half. But what we now know objectively is that some dealers have performed even better. And when I say even better, I'm talking about turning vehicles faster, selling more volume of vehicles, and selling vehicles at higher gross profits and achieving greater net profits. So these are some of the highlights of what I'm going to reveal in my session.
Very good. Very good. Now, Randy, I know you'll be presenting as well, and your focus, as you alluded to a couple of minutes ago, is about customer or acquiring vehicles from customers. And I guess I'm curious, what are a couple high points for your session?
Yeah, I think there's a couple that I'd like to highlight. One is, as you mentioned, the pandemic created market conditions where finding good quality used cars really became a challenge. And the lack of new car inventory created a ton of demand for good quality used cars. And so out of necessity, dealers really saw an opportunity to begin reaching out to consumers directly and offering to buy their car and get them into a new car, as well as looking at things like private party listings as a way to find additional good quality used cars. And I think through the process, dealers really have realized benefits of customer acquisition that many of them didn't even realize were able to be realized. And because of those additional benefits, it's something that's here to stay. And I think the other thing that I'm excited about is we're going to have a second session that will also be focused on customer acquisition. But we're always grateful that we can bring actual dealer feedback to some of these sessions, and we're going to hear directly from dealers that have had success with finding good quality used cars directly from consumers, and they're going to share their experience and best practices. So
to put that into a nugget there, Randy, it sounds to me like you're going to talk about sort of the shift to focusing on customer cars and how that has affected dealer businesses. That second session is a nice follow-up where it's actually dealers kind of opening their playbook.
Exactly. Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, another aspect of the user summit, and Randy, you touched on this earlier, is the focus and showcasing of some new technology and innovations specific to Cox Automotive's IMS group and vAuto. And I guess for this conversation, Randy, could you perhaps point to maybe 2 or 3 things that you might regard among that set of innovations as key things that will be covered in September?
Well, I think one of the things that we recognize and has led to us being able to bring a lot of additional solutions to market to help our clients with inventory management as a broad category is the level of innovation that we're focused on a regular basis. And so we continue to innovate and expand feature functionality for the solutions that we have today. And a couple of areas of focus that we're going to be talking about is reconditioning. Having a reconditioning tool as part of the inventory management platform that dealers are living in every day, we really think is the best way to wrap your arms around all the activities that go on to get a car frontline ready. And so we've been continuing to iterate and evolve the solution that we have to try to make it better and better. Mm-hmm. The other thing, as I mentioned, photos aren't enough anymore to get a consumer to engage with your cars online. So being able to get a more immersive experience through video and 360 spins of the car is something else that we'll be sharing in the user summit this year. And then the last thing, something that I'm really excited about, and something that, quite frankly, because of Cox Automotive and the different solutions that we have and the different areas of the business where we operate, is kind of long overdue. And it's what we're calling Wholesale Hub. And it's a way for us to help streamline the process that's involved when a dealer makes a decision to wholesale a car at appraisal versus retail. And partnering with Manheim, we're able to bring a more efficient and effective process right inside Provision, inside the used car inventory management platform.
Now, Randy, is that Wholesale Hub that you referred to exclusive to Manheim, or if I'm a dealer that maybe likes to send my cars somewhere else, will that serve me there as well?
So today, when we bring Wholesale Hub to market later this fall, it will be first with Manheim, but we fully expect over the next 6 months or so that we will begin to expand the number of auctions that participate.
Nice. Very good. Very good. And we're all speaking here for this episode toward the end of August. The User Summit and Fall Expo is about a month away. And Dale, I thought it might be useful for our listeners to perhaps get a sense of what you've been hearing in your conversations with analysts and others at Cox Automotive and beyond about what the market, the used vehicle market, might look like as this Fall Expo and User Summit takes place in late September.
Sure. So at Cox Automotive, we truly have the industry's catbird seat in terms of understanding the direction of markets, both retail and wholesale, due to our extensive reach and solutions in both retail and wholesale side of the business. And what we're currently experiencing, and now keep in mind we're late to mid-August as we're recording this podcast, is that we are seeing only for the second time in history a used vehicle market that is appreciating at the wholesale level. The only other year in our recorded history where we've seen wholesale appreciation in August was 2017, which was a result of 2 back-to-back hurricanes that wiped out about 1 million vehicles. So it's highly unusual. We're seeing increases in wholesale values week over week for the past 2 weeks. Not significant increases, but increases nonetheless. in an environment where we would otherwise expect to see decreasing wholesale values. Our best explanation for what we're seeing is that over the past couple weeks of August, it happens to correspond to the same time period where most dealers, particularly Asian OEM dealers, have received notification that they are likely not to receive the new vehicle inventory that they had thought in the third, fourth, and first quarter of next year. And consequently, what dealers are doing is they're stocking up on used vehicles at a time of the year where they would ordinarily not to do so or do so at the same rate. Now, to be clear, this is a very recent trend. Cox Automotive's chief economist, Jonathan Spoke, as of the moment, does not predict that we will continue to see sustained wholesale price rises. However, nor does he expect that we would see the otherwise expected third and fourth quarter wholesale price decreases. As of the moment, and this may change, his best prediction is that we're likely to see a plateau in wholesale prices through the balance of the year. And at the same time, retail demand remains very robust. And similarly, we predict that retail demand will remain robust through the end of the year. So I think what this says for dealers is that that pressure that we might ordinarily feel this time of the year going to auctions, watching wholesale prices decrease, that pressure to go back to the store and be more aggressive about cutting retail prices probably will be tempered this year. We're not going to have that, likely not going to have that same decreasing wholesale environment, and consequently not have the same pressure on our retail prices. But I would also advise a warning to dealers not to expect this most recent wholesale price rise to rival that which we saw in the spring. For a whole lot of environmental and economic reasons, we don't think that there's a likelihood that we're going to see the same extreme wholesale price appreciation. So I don't think it would be prudent for dealers to go out and stock up today well in excess of their rolling 30-day sales rate on the belief that cars are only going to continue to get more expensive. So I think just a tempered approach, but to be sure, we're operating in under unusual conditions. And I think this is one of the benefits of being a Cox Automotive partner, is that our solutions and our insights and knowledge will come through to our clients through our products, through our consultation and our association. So we're watching the market closely, and we will continue to communicate as it evolves.
One follow-up question there, Dale. On the retail pricing side, are we now, because of that lift and appreciation that you just described in the wholesale market, are we seeing dealers go back to raising prices, maybe perhaps not to the degree they did earlier, but is that sort of where they are right now?
Not at the moment. What we do know is that retail prices always lag wholesale prices, whether wholesale prices are moving up or down. There's typically a 4 to 6 week lag between movement of wholesale and retail prices. So given the fact that wholesale prices had begun to decline basically in the beginning of July, starting late July and early August, we saw retail prices starting to fall as we would expect they would. Mm-hmm. As of the first 2 weeks of August, retail prices continued to fall, however, not at an accelerated rate. It's entirely possible, Lance, that if wholesale prices continue to rise a bit longer or even plateau, that we might see a leveling off of retail price declines. And it's even possible that we could see some rise. But if we do, I think it will be very moderate because we are still in the fall of the year, and there are still seasonal trends and weather conditions that persist and will persist. So the short answer to your question is retail prices are continuing to decline, but they are likely to level off, and some chance that they'll rise a bit. However, we do not at this point predict that anything dramatic will occur there.
Thank you, Dale. I appreciate that you taking the follow-up question there. It does sound to me, based on what you just described about market conditions, that the topics that we will be covering in the IMS User Summit section of the Fall Expo will be highly relevant, given exactly where the market will be at that moment in September. Dale and Randy, I want to thank you both for joining today's podcast. I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Lance.
It's a privilege, Lance. Thank you. And thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Dale.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining this episode of the vAuto podcast. Until next time, stay well.